Hey everyone, it's Kellen Brauer here from RacerX, back again with another race examination video where we're going to review some of Tom Journet's highlights footage from the floor. And we're going to talk about Jason Anderson and Cooper Webb getting together here in the first race of the 450 class. And I wanted to highlight a couple things with it because from the contact, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of contact, but it's just enough that a few things happen. So as you see, Anderson gets through the whoops, gets a nice shift down, and might even shift down twice. 3 times he's shifting down all the way into the corner. Look, but you can see Webb is trying to go for this rut coming out of the corner right here, and Anderson's tiny little bump right there is going to push Webb out to that rut, the second rut, and by that point he's already off balance. If this is no ruts in the corner, Webb might be able to actually stand it back up and you know, drift wide or whatever and save it, but unfortunately he goes down. As we look a little bit later on, I wanted to highlight this battle between Eli Tomac and Ken Roczen in race 2, because I wanted to highlight something that Roczen does here that kind of blew my mind watching it live, because this is something that these guys don't necessarily practice, but really what ends up happening here is, of course, Eli pushes Kenny wide, Kenny cuts back underneath, and Kenny doubles onto this tabletop of what was supposed to be a Supercross triple. Now, the fact that he's able to perfectly time landing the downside of this single into the sand is pretty impressive, and then Eli has more momentum because he's doubled out to the outside right here, but Kenny's able to keep it alongside. He gets a shift up right there coming out of the sand, gets on the rear tire, and passes Eli back. I mean, little stuff like that is always so fun to watch and see what these guys are capable of doing. But of course, let's talk about Eli Tomac's big moment, because Tom got a lot of stuff highlighting this before it happened, and then of course when it happened. So this is the first kind of big moment that Eli has, tripling onto the table, tripling over to the next table. He kind of cases that first one, goes for the brake tap to get onto the second one, but man, look at how hard he cases that. I mean, that is almost a frame case. Really good job to kind of corral it together, not go down as he kind of bounces off the next single. But then watching him do it the lap after that, and you see this whole sequence of footage right here, this is so cool. First of all, slipping the clutch, getting just the right amount of rear wheel traction to pop this triple on, poetry in motion for him to get right up on top of this one, and this time doesn't come up short. He lands right on top of that first tabletop, immediately goes into the seat bounce for the second one, doesn't need a brake tap this time because he's got enough distance, and then this little like bunny hop off the second table down into transition. I mean, stuff like that is just, watching these guys work that kind of momentum across the bike is incredible. But then of course here is the big moment, Eli going down big time, tripling on, going to the left side of the track. And this was, you know, Webb was, you know, holding up kind of the main line in the middle of the track, so Eli's going to swing wide right here, but he also gets kind of kicked to the left a little bit. You can see the rear wheel kind of pushes him out that way anyway. He might have gone more left if you know, it didn't kick, I guess, back in that shape or form, but big off. Good job to land on the tough blocks, and I mean, Yamaha doesn't necessarily want this for advertising, but it saved him. He landed on a couple tough blocks and rode out of this one relatively okay. He's going to be okay for this weekend, and good on him, because that one was a huge one. I want to remind everybody that this video is presented by OnX Off-Road. Know where to go with the #1 off-road GPS app. Access 500,000 plus miles of trails and roads, open dates, and public lands. Download the OnX Off-Road app today. Moving on to a couple more things, just wanted to highlight something here. Phil Nicoletti, as he was leading the second race here, you notice he has these green lights around his forks. That is actually something Feld is trying to do and put on these machines so that you know, viewers can more easily see who is leading the race. But I wanted to also highlight that as soon as Phil gets passed by Styles Robertson here, the lights go off almost immediately. So whoever was operating the lights for Feld, pretty good job to change it over as soon as Phil lost the lead, but that's pretty cool that they're trying some stuff out like that. Then I wanted to look at some Supercross Futures footage here because Casey Cochran gets the whoops wrong here as he's trying to jump through them. And it's very much a timing thing with whoops. You're going to see he goes a little bit long, lands past transition right there, so that's why it kicks him up high. And really a pretty remarkable job to kind of save it at this point, because he landed really nose high into the second one. And it just goes to show that like jumping whoops aren't necessarily easy either. You have to time it almost as if it's a rhythm section. So you can see here Daxton Bennick, he is going to go 3-3-3 through here, super clean to make this pass on Talon Hawkins for the lead. And even the Supercross Futures can show us the difference between, you know, timing jumping the whoops versus getting the, you know, the blitzing method wrong a little bit, which is why jumping for some guys like, you know, Marvin Muscan, for example, has worked out over the years because they can find ways to jump faster than some guys are blitzing. So really nice setup of a pass here by Bennick to go into the race lead. He would, of course, win Supercross Futures, so good on him. But just a couple things to break down right there. Nice to see these guys getting the work done and showing what they have. But that is all for us here at Anaheim 2. We'll see you guys this weekend in Houston. Be sure to watch the broadcast on Peacock as well as Race Day Live.